Hey, 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 Speak Easy podcast listeners. I am excited about this episode. Any of you that have been following me for any length of time, you know that I eat, sleep, live, breathe music, all genres. And the running joke for my home is if you're standing outside, you would never know what nationality lived in my home because all genres of music, from K pop to jazz to country, it all plays in this house. And that is why I'm excited to have my guest on for today because of his experience, long experience in the music industry. So, hello, Dave. How are you?
I am fine, Altavis. I'm so glad to be here. It's just great that you're having me on, and I can't wait to get into this discussion. It's going to be great.
Yeah, okay, listen. So, I have to say this. I am a lover of music. And when I read your bio and saw that you had 4 decades of writing music, it blew my mind for so many different reasons. Because when we think about how music has progressed and changed, and man, it's been ripped apart and rebuilt and demolished all over again, and you've been in the midst of it, you've been in the thick of it for 4 decades. First and foremost, how does that feel for you?
It's kind of surreal, actually, because when I look back, I can't believe it's been 40 years. I wrote Rachel's song really 40 years ago. And that journey from that one song to now, it's just been an incredible journey. And through the changes in technology, the changes in the styles of music that we hear and that different people love, and also the changes in the way people can actually access music. I can do a song today and have it heard halfway around the world in about 30 minutes. It's no big deal to get the music out these days, but back when I started, it sure was.
Oh my goodness, that speaks volumes because there are so many people who, when change happens, they immediately clench up and they get frightened. And so, for you, how have what is one key element that has really helped you to be able to stay in it and be like, okay, well, whatever's next, let me go ahead and tinker around, let me find out how to do it so that way I can stay in this?
Well, I think my encouragement came from my fans that listened to my music. I got so many letters and feedback from them, and they spanned from the very beginning, from the first time it played on the radio. People would contact me by mainly by mail back then. We didn't even have email back then, but people would contact me, and then as we got into email, I would get emails from everybody, but they would send me their stories of how much my music had touched their souls, really. And that, knowing that the music, even though it was still going on in the 1990s, and the letters kept coming in, and so it didn't kind of fade away. It seemed to have, I think, what you all call in the media business, it was evergreen. It just stayed and didn't have any end point in sight. And so I am so blessed that the music that I think that I have created will last forever and will be enjoyed forever, long after I'm gone. And so it's that encouragement from all the fans that told me how much the music meant to them. That's what kept me going and saying, well, I got to do some more of this, and I got to find different ways to get it out to touch more people. And so that was the driving force for basically keeping me at it.
What has been your favorite song that you've written so far?
Well, hands down, it's got to be Rachel's song. That song, that literally changed my life, because I had just basically sitting down at my piano and played it. It came to me, I think, as a gift from God. I really never sat down to write it, but I played it. And then when my wife reminded me that I had written a song, because it didn't have a name or anything, and she was all excited that I'd made something up. And so I did write it down. I did get it named after our godchild. I played it at her christening service. So that's how I got its name. And then I got it recorded about 3 years later, about in 1986. And then once it got recorded, by professionals in Nashville. Gary Prim is the artist. He is a wonderful studio musician. He plays keyboard unbelievably beautifully. So what he created from my simple song was an amazing recording. And when that recording got played on air, it just took off. I mean, people would call the radio stations and say, "Hey, what's that song you just played? Can you play it again? And tell me about this guy from Winston-Salem that wrote this song." And so it got played all over the whole country. And as an entrepreneur, people that have new products, I know a lot of your listeners have, they're starting a business or whatever. When you have a good product that you know is dynamite good, then your job is to find out all the ways in the world that you can get that product exposed to your potential customers. And in my case, music, I had to get it exposed to a lot of ears. I wanted people to hear that song. So I got it played on easy listening radio stations over the whole country. Of course, that generated a lot more fan mail coming in. And then I decided, well, these people, they want to have a CD to take home and play it for themselves. Well, then I had to get busy and find a way to make and market my CDs. Well, record stores, the big businesses that back then sold records, they don't exist anymore. But back then we had record stores. They wouldn't have anything to do with me, because who ever heard of Dave Combs? They wanted the big names, the Elvis Presleys and the big names of the world were the ones, the records that they were selling. And so I said, well, there's got to be another way. So I ended up finding, almost by accident, a way to sell my music through retail outlets, through gift shops of all places. Gift shops, if you've been on vacation, you go into Gatlinburg or some other place where there's all these pretty little gift shops. You go in the store, you hear pretty music playing. Well, I decided that my music would be really good to play in those kind of places. And so I got my music in one little gift shop in Old Town Alexandria. And the lady that owned the store, she says, every time Rachel's song comes on, all my customers come over to the counter and say, "What's that music you're playing? I want to buy it and take it home." She sold tons of my CDs through that little gift shop of just playing it on her stereo system and having the CDs on the little basket by the cash register. And so I thought, entrepreneur here again. I'm thinking, well, how can I duplicate this? This is a success. So that's the secret to entrepreneurial success, is you take a little thing that really works and you multiply the heck out of that. And so I said, I got to find more gift shops. And so I got to looking around. Sure enough, in other tourist towns, there were gift shops that played and sold music. So I'd give them one of my, it was a cassette tape back then, but I'd give them a recording. They'd play it. And same thing happened. They just loved playing it because their customers wanted to buy it. Well, I ran out of places I could go to, on the weekend, and because I had a full-time job at AT&T at the time. So I had to do this at nights and weekends. And a lot of your fans are going to identify with that. They got two jobs, their real job and then their entrepreneur job, where they hope it's going to allow them to quit the other job. So anyway, on weekends, my wife and I, we'd go around to all these tourist places and check out gift shops. But after a while, we ran out of places we could go on a weekend. You can only drive so far. And I thought, there's got to be a better way than this. I need to send something way out in the middle of the country, California or Washington State, or in the middle of the country. So, but I didn't know where the tourist towns were. I'm a Tennessee hillbilly from East Tennessee. And so I'd never done a whole lot of traveling. So I did not know where tourist towns were in Mississippi or in Oregon or California or whatever. And so I said, there's got to be some list somewhere. Everybody's got a database these days of things they can go tap into and instantly get it. Well, back then, this is way before the internet. And so I said, well, let's see. What's the characteristic of a tourist town? Well, let's see. It's got low population normally, because there's just a small number of people live there. And they have a large number of gift shops. If you go to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, you might find, 50 gift shops. And the population may only be 850 people that permanently live there. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a pretty good data characteristic. So I found a book in the library that had all the crossroads in the United States and their population from the census. And I bought the mailing list of all the gift shops. Now, back then, it was in yellow pages. You had to literally buy a printout of the yellow pages.
Yeah, all you Gen Z, just Google Yellow Pages. It's all right. We know that you're not going to understand what that is.
The old phone book, but it was hard copy.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they send me this big printout, about 4 inches thick of a printout that had all the gift shops. There are about 75,000 of them in the whole country.
Ooh.
And it was by state, by town, which is great. So I went through that printout literally and counted the number of gift shops in each town. And I wrote down that number. And then I put that number in the town in a database. I'm a computer person, so all us computer geeks can create databases or spreadsheets. Even back then we could. So I put in my database the town, the number of gift shops. And then I found this other book, this marketing atlas that had the population. So I'd look up, Gatlinburg's only got 850. So I put that in there. And then I had the database calculate the ratio of gift shops per population. Well, guess what? When you do that ratio, places like Gatlinburg are going to, and you sort it by that ratio, the Gatlinburgs of the world are going to float to the top of that list. And lo and behold, in Oregon or Washington or all these states that I'd never been to, I had a printout that showed me, here's the town in Oregon that's got to be a gift shop town because they don't have very many population per gift shop. So then I started calling only those places. So that's an entrepreneur, technique of targeting your efforts so that you don't waste your time trying to have a shotgun approach. You want a rifle approach to, that's where I want to go with my marketing effort. So I called only those towns. And I went from having to call 30 gift shops to get one person to say yes. When I started calling those places, I got 1 in 5. So, wow. I mean, that is like dynamite. It's just explosive increase in productivity. So instead of calling all day and being wore out with a lot of no's, by the end of a Saturday or Sunday, when I was done calling, man, I'd have 75 or 80 prospects that I'd have to then pack up a little package to send them something free. So that's just one example of where you kind of try to think outside the box and think, well, there's got to be a way to find my customers. And sometimes today we call that big data. There's analytics. You can even get a degree in analytics today.
Yeah,
Back then, I don't think they even knew what the term was. But so that's just one example, Aldavisa, of how I persisted. I just didn't give up. I just kept at it until I succeeded. I ended up with over 1,000 gift shops across the country that sold my music. No advertising.
That is, I was just about to say that, without the use of social media. Like, I need Speakeasy podcast listeners, I need you to hone in on what Dave just said. This is without social media. This is doing the legwork, doing the groundwork, going ahead, being your own street team.
Yes.
We talk about having people that go and market for us, and today there's a big draw of having people, followers and fans and people that can market for. No, what Dave is saying is no.
Mm-mm.
You do the work first.
That's right. And you find what works. You don't just go take off blindly. You find something that works. And once you find that little model that works, you work it. And I mean, and entrepreneurs by and large are not afraid of working. They'll work 24 hours a day sometimes if necessary, right?
Yes, indeed.
So, you just find something that works, a model, and you go after that model. And then you look for
100%.
other models that work, and you try to fine tune it, make it even better. So that's a great lesson for any entrepreneur.
I'm going to forever be quoting that. I want you to know that.
Oh, okay.
I am going to forever, because I think about it, and we've gotten to the place where we're comfortable, and because there's so many people now where access has been granted, and you can do the quote unquote air quotes overnight success.
Oh yeah.
But they forget that no, you still got to put in the work. You still have to be willing to take the steps. And I even think about Dr. Maya Angelou, and I think about how she talked about she would do 80 events a year. And I was like, that was in a time where there was no social media, there was no texting, there wasn't even a beeper that you could send somebody at least, hey, call me. There was none of that. But
Hmm.
they found a way.
Maya Angelou only lived about 5 miles from where I'm standing right now. She and I've had dinner with
Really?
her. I've had dinner with her before, and she was a Winston-Salem person. She taught at Wake Forest University, and I have my MBA from Wake Forest. I knew Maya Angelou.
I love it. It speaks volumes. It does.
Well, I really hope now, we can talk about my book. I have my book coming out, and I've set the date on the book for be published around the 11th of October. So mid-October, my book should be on Amazon.com. Now, for your entrepreneurs, this book is chock full of stories in great detail of how I went from that one song to 15 albums of song, from one gift shop to 1,000 gift shops. So I would encourage people. It's an inspirational read, no doubt about that, and it tells a lot about my story and about my music. And I would encourage them also to go get and download and listen to Rachel's song, of course. But the entrepreneurial aspect of this, for those that are really trying to find your way in the small business world, to turn a small business into a big business, I would encourage them to get the book, and hopefully it will provide them with some true inspiration to keep at it and be persistent and never give up.
Oh, I love that. And I saw that the title is Touched by the Music. Oh,
Yes.
I love that title. And when we think about entrepreneurship, guys, I want you to understand this is not just for the person that has a product. We're talking about the creative. We're talking about the person that has a paintbrush, the person that has a pen, the person that has a keyboard, anybody. You have to get into a consistent habit of seeing yourself as an entrepreneur, no matter what gift your hands may do.
That is exactly right, Altavis. I couldn't have said it better.
I love that. Oh my goodness, this has been such an amazing interview. I am excited for the book coming out. I'm looking forward to not only reading it, but also, telling more people about it as well, because I think we're now in a space where what was when it came to creating the business and the steps that we needed to take to grow the business, what was is coming back, and it is what is now. So the
Mm-hmm.
doing that legwork, being your own voice, going ahead and being your own street team, marketing yourself. And one of the things also that you said, Dave, that I absolutely love is we are in a time right now where community is everything.
Yes. And that community can be connected so quickly and so
Yeah.
easily. And that is a real blessing when you can look at your email list and say, gosh, I have an email list of 500 people. Now, 50 years ago, that would have been unheard of to be able to stay in touch with 500 people just like that. Or on, let's say on LinkedIn, for example, or on Facebook, any of the social media, your connections can be just like that. And if something is really, really good, then they say something goes viral. What that means is that it's so good that I'm going to tell all my friends about it. And it's so good, they're going to tell all their friends about it. Well, next thing you know, the exponential powers take over and you're talking millions instead of dozens. So it's just amazing what we have at our fingertips today.
Oh, I love it. So, Dave, what is one way that the Speakeasy audience can connect with you if they're looking to get information about the book launch or just to have a conversation with you or find out what it is that you're doing?
I have a website called combsmusic.com. And on there, you can look at all my music and books. And I have piano music books as well as CDs. And then there's a connect page on there too, where you can send me an email or a message or whatever. Just put your email address. I read every one of them and I respond to every one of them personally. So don't think it's going into some black box somewhere. So I would invite people to go to my website and get and connect with me and let me know what's on your mind and how my music has touched your life. I love to hear those stories.
I love it. Speakeasy audience, you know this is all for you because we want to see you elevate in life and in business. And in doing so, I want you to make sure that you're not just listening to the episodes, but go ahead, go back, take notes, but also take action. There are some things that are in this episode that can definitely help to propel you as we move into another season in business, as things are shifting and opening up. Opportunities are everywhere, and even when you don't see an opportunity, you can definitely create one. So, with that being said, this has been another episode of the Hashtag Speak Easy podcast. And until next time, guys, don't forget to press it out. See ya.